Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a bit of a different approach.
We are. We're looking at excerpts from a narrative, a story about a post-tragedy romance.
But this isn't your typical love story. It feels more like, well, an engineered intervention.
Exactly. It's this meticulously planned, strategic blueprint for repairing a relationship, designed by the fiancé who's actually deceased.
It's quite a setup. Our mission today, really, is to dissect how this whole thing works. How do you take years of shared history, grief, intense hostility, and try to dismantle it all?
Yeah, through one single required trip around the world. We're looking at the mechanics of this emotional repair job for these two characters, Juliet and Silas.
Okay, so let's lay the groundwork first. The trio, Juliet, Grant, and Silas.
Right, inseparable after college. The sources describe this idyllic vision they had, on a beach, planning their futures together.
Grant wanted his nonprofit, wanted to marry Juliet. Juliet dreamt of family, Sunday dinners.
And keeping Silas, Grant's best friend, right there with them. They were building this chosen family, very intentional.
Fast forward 7 years, it's completely broken.
Violently fractured, is how the narrative puts it. Grant's gone. Illness took him.
And Juliet is just consumed by grief. We see her marking days off, red X's stuck in their old place.
And all that pain, that anger, it finds a target. Silas
Davenport. There's this intense 7-year buildup of animosity towards him.
Yeah, after his own father died, Silas inherited this huge business empire.
And went off the rails, apparently. Tabloids, party boy spiral.
Which Juliet saw as him abandoning them. And then the final nail in the coffin.
Oh, the funeral incident.
Right. He shows up, clearly struggling himself, but completely tone deaf, and offers her a massive check, like trying to fix grief with money.
That sealed it for her. He became the arrogant asshole prick. That's the quote, right?
That's the one. He abandoned them when they needed him. That's her narrative.
And this is where Grant's posthumous plan comes in. It's kind of genius, maybe, or deeply manipulative.
Or both. His legacy is these letters. But there's a catch.
A huge catch. Juliet only gets them if she travels the world. With Silas. The man she despises.
Forcing them into shared spaces. Forcing them to confront everything they've avoided. The history, the grief, the anger. Stuff they only dealt with separately before.
So the central question here isn't just, will they fall in love? It's more like, can this even work? Can you repair something so broken, especially when it's being engineered by, well, a ghost?
It's a fascinating premise for an enemies to lovers arc, with the architect pulling strings from beyond.
Okay, let's get into segment 1. The trip starts, the engineered journey. And it's awkward from minute 1.
Oh, immediately. You've got Juliet, who's actually a dating coach, ironically.
Right. Her job is human connection.
Yeah, but she's purely in survival mode here. Just get through it. Whereas Silas, he goes the other way.
Overcompensates with luxury.
Massively. Like 8 identical Louis Vuitton bags, a private jet customized down to the sheets, even a full bed installed.
Wow. That's a lot.
It's avoidance through excess, trying to control the environment because he can't control the emotions. It's like putting up material shields.
But for Juliet, that probably just screams arrogance, right? Reinforces her view of him.
Exactly. It just makes the whole situation feel more absurd and highlights how out of touch she thinks he is.
So Switzerland is the first stop, and it becomes this psychological pressure cooker.
Pretty much. You have Juliet's anxiety about the whole trip bumping right up against Silas's own trauma.
Which is significant. He lost his mom young, age 8, then his dad at 26.
And that loss, his father's death, is what triggered that public spiral we mentioned. The partying, the tabloids, and the estrangement from Juliet and Grant.
So his default is control and avoidance, because that's how we learn to cope with loss.
Right, and understanding that is key to the explosion that happens next.
The Smithfield building accusation. This is huge.
Nuclear is a good word for it. Juliet basically implies Silas is partially responsible for Grant's death. She connects it to this old building, Smithfield, that Silas inherited. She suggests his negligence, not managing it properly, might have exposed Grant to something toxic, contributing to his illness.
Whoa, that's intense. How does Silas react?
Well, his defense is actually the first real peek inside his head we get. It's quite revealing.
What does he say?
He admits he never even opened the environmental report for that building. After his father died, he was so paralyzed by grief and this, fear of confirming he was a failure.
He just couldn't face it.
Couldn't face potentially finding out he'd have failed his dad, and by extension, failed Grant. So he just avoided it completely.
Avoidance again. It's his pattern.
Deep avoidance. But this is where Grant's plan, maybe unintentionally, forces a resolution. Silas immediately gets his assistant Ryan on the phone.
To get the report now.
Right then and there.
Yeah.
Ryan finds it, reads it, and the building,
It was fine.
totally clean, not toxic. The accusation had no factual basis.
Oh, wow. So Juliet has to confront that.
She has to realize her anger, this all-consuming rage she's directed at him. It wasn't based on this particular fact. The narrative says it was a physical outlet for the pain of losing Grant.
So the external villain she constructed, at least for this specific issue, just dissolves.
Exactly. The report clears Silas, sure, but more importantly, it removes the justification for a huge chunk of her anger. It forces her back onto the raw grief itself.
That changes everything, doesn't it? It takes them from this structured hostility to something much less defined.
Much messier. And that sets the stage for segment 2, moving into Spain. The dynamic starts to shift.
Yeah, there's this symbolic moment on Silas's boat, the Vivi.
Named after his mother, which is important. Juliet sees him differently there. Not the playboy heir, but serious, capable, commanding the ship.
It's the first time she connects the man standing there with the maybe vulnerable boy she used to know.
I think so. And Silas must sense that shift because he finally starts to open up a bit.
About why he focused so hard on the business.
Yeah. He confesses it wasn't about greed. It was this desperate 7-year mission to earn back their trust. Juliet's and Grant's.
He admits he almost lost it all.
Totally spiraled. Said he almost let it all go until Grant actually tracked him down.
Grant tracked him down. When?
During weekend, Juliet was away in New York planning wedding stuff. Grant went to Silas, pulled him out of his funk, basically dragged him back to Boston.
Wait, so Grant actively pulled Silas back, knowing the tension? That adds another layer to Grant's long game.
It really does. It suggests Grant knew, maybe even before he got sick, that Silas needed to be okay, for Juliet's sake. He was connecting their fates.
And Silas admitting this vulnerability, Grant's role in saving him, that allows the tension to break a little.
It seems to. It paves the way for something lighter, which comes from that bet they made back in Switzerland.
Ah, the skydiving bet. Juliet chickened out.
She did, so she owed Silas a dance. Spain or Italy.
And they actually do it.
Spontaneously. On a sidewalk in Cadiz. The source describes it as this moment of pure shared joy. Being alive felt all too much.
It's not just physical closeness. It's like choosing joy over grief together for a second.
A conscious choice to break that posture of grief, definitely.
So the trip keeps moving, pushing them towards Italy, Amalfi Coast, pasta making.
With Nana Lisi. And this is where Grant's deeper strategy seems to surface.
Nana Lisi figures them out.
Instantly. She sees the sparks, the tension, the unspoken stuff between them, even though they're insisting they aren't lovers.
And she has some wisdom for them.
Beautifully simple. True love is worn and messy. She gets it.
And Grant choosing Italy, that wasn't random, was it?
Doesn't seem like it. Italy, it's all about family, food, warmth. It feels like Grant picked it to remind them what fills the void left by loss.
Not the luxury Silas offered, but connection, chosen family, good meals.
Exactly. Embrace the messiness, because that's what the real connection is. Grant's letter for Italy confirms this. Fill life with warmth.
And that warmth works, apparently, leads to a turning point.
It does. Silas makes this comment about Boston, how he's still connected to it because she's there. It's this quiet declaration of loyalty almost.
And Juliet initiates the first kiss.
She does. Which leads to, well, intimacy, vulnerability, and a big realization for Juliet.
That she wants him.
As much as he needs her. The anger's gone, replaced by desire. That's the final step needed before Grant's big reveals in Paris.
Okay, segment 3. Paris. The grand finale stage Grant designed.
This is where all the pieces, all the manipulation and selflessness come together through the letters.
These letters are like the official permission slips, aren't they?
That's a great way to put it. Permission structures. Let's look at the letter Grant wrote, just to Silas first, chapter 44 in the source.
What's the gist?
It's staggering, really. Grant confesses he actually encouraged Juliet to dislike Silas back when Silas was spiraling after his father's death.
Grant admitted that. Why?
His own insecurity, immaturity at the time, he says. But then he completely flips it. He gives Silas the proverbial green light to love Juliet.
He tells Silas to go for it.
Explicitly. Says Silas was always the better man for her. And asks Silas to fill the hole he's leaving behind.
Oh. Wow, that is huge. Grant basically owns up to past sabotage and then mandates Silas step up.
And to hammer home why Silas is worthy, there's that bonus chapter flashback.
The camping trip, right. What happened there?
Grant secretly watched Silas stay up all night, fanning mosquitoes away from Juliet while she slept. Grant slept right through it.
Silas protected her, unnoticed.
Exactly. Grant saw, in that moment, that Silas was fundamentally her protector, always would be.
So these letters are designed to erase any guilt Silas might feel.
Remove all doubt. Grant's making it clear. Loving Juliet isn't a betrayal, it's fulfilling Grant's wish. It's an obligation almost.
But getting this permission triggers a crisis for Juliet, right?
Yeah.
She finds Silas's letter.
She reads it and panics. Tries to run, book a flight out of Paris, escape the weight of it all.
This future being laid out for her.
Yeah, it's too much. But Silas intercepts her. This is where it gets intense. He uses his connections, embassy contacts, and grounds her passport. Stops her from leaving.
Whoa. That's coercion, forcing the confrontation Grant wanted.
It's extreme. It shows Silas is absolutely incapable of losing her again, passively. He reverts to control, big time.
But the narrative throws in another twist immediately.
Right away. As things reach this peak intensity, Silas gets hit by a bike. A sideswipe accident, not life-threatening but serious enough.
So, near tragedy again, does that break the tension?
It neutralizes the coercion aspect, maybe. It forces them back together through shared fear and vulnerability, not control. All the built-up emotion just spills out.
And that leads to the final breakthrough.
It does. Back in the Paris suite, which, by the way, overlooks the Eiffel Tower, the exact romantic backdrop Grant had apparently planned.
Of course he did.
Silas finally says it all. I have loved you since the moment I laid eyes on you, Jules.
He admits he never wanted to love her, but couldn't stop.
Wow. Decades of hidden feelings, all laid bare. And then Juliet gets her final letter from Grant. Chapter 48.
What does Grant tell her?
He confirms what she likely suspected after reading Silas's letter. You were always his one that got away. He validates Silas's long-held secret love.
And gives his blessing.
Fully. Tells her whether they end up as friends or more, he'll be smiling because they found their way back to each other. The goal was reconciliation, connection. Romance was maybe a bonus.
So the ending, the picnic by the Seine, playing that where do you see yourself in 5 years game again.
It brings it full circle. Juliet realizes Grant's true legacy wasn't his death, it was this gift. Permission to love again, fiercely, without regret, because life is short.
The whole trip forced them to shed their coping mechanisms, her anger, his avoidance.
So they could finally accept a future, together or apart, but moving forward.
So, summing up this deep dive, Grant's plan, however complex or manipulative, was fundamentally about enabling forgiveness, self-forgiveness, forgiveness of each other.
And reconciliation within their chosen family structure. Juliet needed that explicit permission from Grant to live and love again. Silas needed Grant's instruction to stop running and finally accept responsibility, accept happiness.
And the takeaway for you listening?
I think it's that sometimes breaking old patterns, getting past deep pain, it really can require an external shock. A big intervention like this trip, or even just a radical change of scene.
To break those habitual emotional responses.
Exactly. And Nonalisi was right, wasn't she? The path is often worn and messy. That messiness is where the authenticity lies. Sometimes you need a nudge or maybe a big push onto that path.
It was definitely messy for them, which leaves us with a final thought to consider.
If it took this incredibly elaborate, intentional design by a third-person Grant giving explicit permission, basically, to overcome their paralysis, does the love that results belong more to the design itself?
Or to Grant, the designer? Or, ultimately, does it belong to Juliet and Silas for the choice they finally made once they were free of all that guilt and history?
Something to think about. Where does the agency truly lie when love is engineered?